Okay.
Who would identify in the video?
Jennifer Andres, cultural artifact speech. How many of you own a smartphone? Alright, well, in an article posted on Engadget on February 11, 2014, the editor, John Fingus, reveals that the research group's latest consumer report reports that 2/3 of Americans owned a smartphone in 2013 alone, which estimates to be about 65% of Americans. So if you did raise your hand, congratulations, you're a part of the 65%. And most of you probably use your phones to go on social networks, don't you? Even if it's just to send out a simple email to your professor. This is my smartphone, and this represents many aspects of the popular culture which I identify with. And as someone who identifies with this culture, I think it is important that many people know that popular culture is not a bad thing. Many have a misconception about this culture because many believe that the popular culture only concentrates on making foolish people and things relevant, or in another word, trendy. By learning about the correlations between smartphones and the popular culture, you will acquire a greater understanding about how smartphones influence the way popular culture thinks and acts, and you will also acquire the understanding of how communication and information is valuable within this culture. First, I will discuss with you how the smartphone represents the popular culture. Then I will discuss how I identify with this culture. When the first phone was invented in 1992, it changed the way we viewed the popular culture and the way it functioned. The popular culture has been around since the 1800s, when the Industrial Revolution was taking place. But once the first smartphone was invented by IBM, but once the first smartphone was invented by IBM, it did change the way we started to communicate with one another. We were able to social networks such as Instagram, Twitter were made, and that's the way we started communicating with one another. We were able to voice our opinions and ideas within these networks. And not only do our smartphones help us communicate with one another, but it also helps us stay informed. So we could just easily go on apps like CNN, and we could just find out information about current events such as what's going on in Ferguson, or the tragedy in Paris. I just discussed how smartphones represent the popular culture, and now I will tell you how I identify with this culture. I identify with this culture because I own a smartphone and I'm always on my phone on a daily basis. I do own a few social networks, which does help me stay connected to my friends, which I do talk to a lot because they all go to our schools. And through these social networks, I'm also able to communicate with the world. Like the other day, I had tweeted a current favorite author of mine, telling him an opinion about a song, and he responded and made me kind of fangirl. And just through this, it has made me appreciate the way we communicate with each other. And not only does my smartphone help me stay in touch with my friends and people I admire, but it also helps me stay informed with important events that happen within our society and the world. And I am able to go on apps like BuzzFeed, CNN, or LA Times, and I am able to just look up information quickly. Like in a minute, I'll probably know what's going on in New York or Seattle. And I am also able to just go on the entertainment column and just look at ratings for restaurants and movies. And I think the smartphone represents relevancy and importance within this culture. Now you have a better understanding of how the smartphone correlates with popular culture. And I first discussed how smartphones impacted popular culture, and then I shared with you all how I identify with this culture. And The popular culture is a kaleidoscope of ideas, opinions, thoughts, devices, etc. So if you are a part of the 65% that I mentioned earlier, then embrace it, because you're a part of the most loved, hated, and always relevant culture that there could possibly exist.